I think I'm a special one.
Fabregas, lovely ball threaded through. Costa, what a start!
Frank Lampard to win it. He's got it.
He's done it! The greatest night in the history of Chelsea Football Club.
Full time at the King Power, Leicester 1, Chelsea 2. Daniel Childs here. Hope you're all doing really well. Chelsea back to winning ways. Not in the most convincing of ways, to be fair, especially the late penalty for Ayew. The sense of periods in the game when Chelsea went from such a state of dominance, it felt a little bit like complacency. And even Noni Madueke doing his best to maybe try and keep Leicester in it. But in the end, a win is a win is a win. I think we're a point off Man City now, and we have to start this festive period with racking up wins to cement our place in the top four, and that's exactly what we did today against the Leicester side, who I think will be battling relegation, but do have a little bit more of a steely resilience to them. And there were some other things today to delve into from an officiating point of view in the first half that I think are just unacceptable, really. We'll delve into that and I'll give you all my thoughts. Please do hit the like button if you're a Chelsea fan happy about the win. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments below. The starting lineup was quite surprising. I was quite amazed by some of the changes that Enzo Maresca made. Yes, there were late, maybe exclusions from both Pedro Neto and Malo Gusto, neither of which made the matchday squad for injuries and knocks they picked up during the international break. Let's hope both are ready and willing to go again pretty soon, because especially in the case of Neto, it's a bit of a shame because he's been in a good run of form recently. So Joao Felix played on the left for Chelsea. Then you had Enzo Fernandez returning to the midfield alongside Moises Caicedo. Benoit Badiashile also starting his, I think that's his first Premier League start this season, or the first one in quite a while. That was a little bit of a shock to me. And I think the rest of the team kind of spoke for itself. We knew Fofana, Colwell would keep playing, Cucurella, Sanchez, obviously Caicedo, Palmer, Madueke and Jackson. Chelsea in this kind of free back shape. We have Fofana moving kind of into that back three. You have Madueke on the right, Cucurella on the left. You have the midfield of Caicedo, Enzo Fernandez very much moving forward. Joao Felix playing more of an inside forward rather than kind of a natural winger, because that's kind of his natural game. And then, of course, Jackson and Palmer really hurting Leicester on a number of occasions. I thought Chelsea all round in that first 38 minutes of the game were brilliant, especially against a team who decided to defend so deep. That's one of the concerns about Chelsea, right, we've had for a number of years, is how do you deal when a team operates like that? Now, in some ways, our opening goal came from, I think, individual brilliance and persistence from Nicolas Jackson, and also just really poor defending from Leicester, which shows you the limitations of them. But I thought Jackson all round today again, back to a level you want him to be, a real focal point. His movement was good, his aggression was good, and on that goal it did remind me of shades of Diego. It did, and maybe Didier as well. Just relentless, willingness to just go at it unrelentingly, get to the ball, find a way, even in an unorthodox manner, to get inside the box and have a shot at goal. And actually the end of that move that did involve Enzo Fernandez, Chelsea's other good player today, the touch and then the finish was sublime. I mean, it's just top class, and it's another goal for Jackson. It was a great start, and I thought that Chelsea, because there seemed to be no outlet for Leicester, and the way Chelsea were able to recover the ball and keep circulating it, trying to get it out wide one-on-one with Noni Madueke, or especially down the left, Cucurella's movement and Enzo making third man runs quite consistently today was really impactful for Chelsea, as eventually came true, I think, in the latter stages of the second half for Chelsea. All round, I thought our performance was good, and really Leicester should have been down to 10 men at least in that opening period. The challenge from Wilfred Ndidi on Cole Palmer was disgusting, and like with Lisandro Martinez a few weeks ago at Old Trafford, that should have been a red card. Also a disgusting challenge on Cole Palmer, and the fact that VAR does not intervene, does not overturn that challenge is just, it's disgraceful. That could have ended Cole Palmer's season right there. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic there. It is a disgusting, disgraceful, reckless challenge. That is why VAR is there. I can't ever go at the referee for giving him a yellow based on it. That's why you have VAR, for those in Stockley Park to look at it in a lot closer inspection. The reaction of the Chelsea players for me kind of signalled this is a lot worse than I thought it was. And then when you see the replays, you think, well, yeah, this has got to be overturned, right? This has to be a red card. And then how quickly that was not overturned. they just moved on, and Wilfred Ndidi had a chance actually later in the first half when Leicester started to get back into the game that could have been quite defining. Just terrible officiating. And I think the worst thing is about it is that, you know, what that does is it allows challenges like that on players like Palmer to continue. It's what we spoke about for years with Eden Hazard. I know Arsenal fans have talked about it with Bukayo Saka. These players will be targeted because they are so dangerous. And when you allow challenges like that to go unpunished, players will just think to themselves, I'll take the yellow, I'll get away with it. If you actually enforce it and say that is a red card, that's unacceptable, probably it will be cut out of the game. But that's what we have with the PGMOL. And of course, a lot of that in the spotlight during the international break for David Coote. But, you know, listen, the incompetence runs further beyond David Coote. You know, it's very easy for, I think, the PGMOL and the media to kind of pinpoint him as kind of this real outlier. But in terms of being an incompetent official and just not living up to standards, I mean, that's just kind of the modus operandi of, unfortunately, the PGMOL in the Premier League. So that was really aggravating, and I think some of their challenges in the first half were just so reckless. So I was a little bit fearful about our players being injured. The frustration was we didn't get that second, and then it felt like at the end of the first half, triggered by my favourite player, Robert Sanchez, really lapsed on the ball, some really poor decision making, distribution again, just absolutely lackluster and at times dangerous, because he puts his players in a situation where they could be prone to make errors, to be pressured when they don't need to. You know, this is again a thing with Robert Sanchez where this is supposed to be one of his best attributes, and he puts his team on the back foot and really raises the home crowd and creates a situation where suddenly Leicester feel like they have momentum. I'm not just putting that all on Robert Sanchez, because I think the players need to react to that. It felt like generally our level dropped as we get closer to half time. So then at 1-0, you're like, it should have been more, but we still got the foothold. Let's recalibrate and hopefully we can go again in the second half. The second half didn't quite have the same spark from Chelsea as it did, of course, the more kind of comical moment that could have turned very disastrous if Chelsea hadn't have got over the line was the Noni Madueke blocking Cole Palmer's open goal. I mean, it was just right there. I was just dreading. I was just hoping that we could laugh about it. Luckily, we can laugh about it now. But I could see Maresca's expression, and I think he was thinking what we all were. We've been here before. That's going to be a defining moment where that's going to turn the game, and this is going to end in a really drab draw that it really shouldn't have. You know, that as well, it's such a shame because it was such a nice move. Enzo Fernandez, again, a pass from central midfield that was brilliant to Joao Felix. Joao Felix then laying it off to Jackson, whose effort is well saved by Hermansen, but it's an easy tap, and that should have been 2-0, and it just creates more stress and maybe a little bit more anxiety. To be fair, Leicester, till literally the very end of the game, didn't create much today to really give Robert Sanchez that much trouble. But then the second goal comes eventually, and it's kind of a similar move. You know, Cucurella very much high on that left flank, moving inwards, really good cross into the box. But I loved the aggression and the persistence of Jackson to get his header away, because that really creates the goal. You know, it's not one of those crosses that, you know, just needs a glance on it. It does need some power to the header. He gets the power to the header. It's a good save by Hermansen. And there, as he had been all day, proactively, Enzo Fernandez making a late run into the box as a central midfielder from Chelsea. You want to see that from our number 8. And he does it brilliantly, and he heads it in 2-0. Really, I thought that was just going to be the game over. Madavidi obviously had the penalty that they wanted. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I'm being biased here. I don't think it was a penalty. There was absolutely contact, but the first one for me, I'm not entirely sure. The second one, I can definitely see being more of a penalty. And that happened literally right at the end, near the end of added time. And that added more onto it, of course. Jordan Ayew scoring the penalty. Not great from Sanchez, I have to say. It looked a little bit pathetic given that he got something to it, but the ball still went past him. And there was a little bit of stress, but Chelsea pretty much dealt with the final few added minutes of added time. And we get over the line. The concern instantly was that Levi Colwill was down after the game. And I really hope that's okay because, listen, Benoit Badiashile, I actually think, asserted himself really well today. Chelsea didn't have to do much in terms of defending. There wasn't quite the same aerial threat or wide problems that you're going to get against most Premier League opponents. Like next week against Aston Villa, you're going to be dealing with a higher calibre of opponent. We know that. But given that Benoit Badiashile, I've criticised him, others have, and he's been mainly a B team player, I didn't suspect him to be starting today. I thought he had asserted himself quite well. And the frustration is the team was so close to a clean sheet, which we haven't had many of this year. and we couldn't get it over the line. So I think Badiashile deserves credit. And really, you can say that Maresca's changes actually paid off. You know, Enzo Fernandez being the most notable of that. I do just want to quickly say, I mean, I think that Joao Felix, it was another Joao Felix performance where there are moments and flashes of brilliance. You know, he has a contribute to that move that should have been a Cole Palmer goal that Madueke blocks, and some of his decision making at times is good. Some of his decision making, kind of execution, especially when he's having shots at goal, sometimes feels either a little bit rushed, desperate. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I just think it's that part of Felix's game that always frustrates me, that the execution, I think, so many times undermines the first part of his game. That's always been, you know, he's kind of a more advanced version of Mateo Kovacic in terms of an attacking player, where you can see the tools being there to create a very good player and why he excites a lot of people aesthetically, but the execution needs to be a lot better. And I don't think his performance was terrible. I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it was enough to really make me think that if Neto is available next week, Nkunku pushing, Sancho now back, I'm not quite sure he did enough to really solidify himself as a new A-team player. Maybe you guys disagree, because I know Felix does have a lot of admirers. I just, you know, for a player who got his chance maybe unexpectedly, I don't think he made the biggest impression. I think Enzo Fernandez did. I do think man of the match for me is Nicolas Jackson. Jackson, they were talking about it during commentary, and I think it's right to point out that for the money we paid for him, for the output of goals, me and Jay McIntosh spoke about this during the international break. The clamour and cry for strikers all the time does tire me out a bit, because not only have we seen how Chelsea have failed when they've gone for the big striker, but then also you just look at the output of Jackson, you look at his all-round game, the way he's drastically improved as a footballer for Chelsea and as a striker for Chelsea under a lot of pressure over the last 12 months. I don't think he scores that goal. I don't think he dominates in the way he does, aerially, physically. I think as a focal point, the way he links up with others, his movement, his running, all of that stuff, I think, has so far increased from where it was 12 months ago under Mauricio Pochettino. And I think it's credit to the player. I think persistence and just the quality and clearly the hard work that's been put in behind the scenes to get him to this place. And it's why we should be giving him more minutes. I'm not, against looking in the market for a rotational option, someone who can give more competition. But arguably, you've got that with Christopher Nkunku. I personally feel that Jackson deserves all the flowers, because I think the criticism he gets versus the actual reality of him, I see a lot of stuff at Chelsea where the perception and reality of a player gets warped, where players who actually, in terms of output, aren't that brilliant seem to get a lot of praise and seem to get a lot of hype around them. But that doesn't really match up. But then you've got a player like Jackson, whose output is more than just commendable, is actually pretty good right now, and still there are people doubting him. I don't think there should be many people doubting him. He still has ways to go. I think in bigger games he needs to assert himself and get better, but given his age, given what we paid for him, he's one of our best transfers in recent years, and that goes alongside someone like Cole Palmer, which, Palmer's obviously a different level. He's an amazing player, but in terms of what we'd want from a centre forward to do to help our team get better, Jackson is absolutely providing that. And also, just to solidify it, in case people think I haven't given him enough credit, I thought Enzo Fernandez, this was quite a big performance for him. I want to see that level of performance on a weekly basis, because you see today the talent's there to impact games in a big way, and also getting yourself into the box and adding an attacking threat from central midfield and hopefully adding more goals, which is what Chelsea fans have been crying for from central midfield for a number of years. So those are my thoughts today. Let me know yours in the comments below. Who was your man of the match? Do you agree, disagree with me? Let me know. Follow me across the socials at SonOfChelsea, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.